Hi everyone, welcome to Vintage Digitals. Now, we all know that in the 80s and 90s, digital watch manufacturers were in a race among themselves trying to squeeze in different functions in their watches. And we all know Seiko went a step further with features such as a TV, and they even included a metronome in their watch. Today we are reviewing this watch. We will be taking a look at design, features, and we'll be giving it some marks. But let's go first with design. Now, the watch was designed in collaboration with a pop Japanese DJ called Tetsui Komuro. And granted, it does look like a toy, but the build quality will hint otherwise. It actually being a metronome, and we'll get into what that means when we'll be taking a look at the features of the watch. It is a bulky timepiece, no doubt, and the closest one it reminds me, and maybe this is also due to the color, it's the Citizen AM/FM. But even that is more wearable, as it's a little bit smaller if you remove the battery pack. The watch just screams Japan pop music, and granted, it was not marketed outside of Japan. But the position of the hour display is reminiscent of the driving watches, but that's where the similarities end, because those were classy timepieces and this definitely isn't. It's not something that you can really wear daily. Maybe you can wear it to a themed event, I don't know, like Comic Con, a costumed event or something like that. You would have to have real courage to wear this on a daily basis. You will get questions and looks, no doubt. Now, going back to the fact that it looks like a toy, and you can't blame anyone for thinking that. If you love LCD watches and you know about the LCD watch movement, you might compare it to Lamborghini Countach. But if that's not your cookie, then you might compare it to one of these guys. Oh yeah. Okay, now let's go to the bench and take a look at what features this watch has. So the watch has two displays. It has a main display here, and it has a secondary display here. Now, this display lights up in red, and it gives additional information to the mode that you've selected. So if I cycle through the watch's functions, you will see that some of the functions give additional information. There we have it. It says sound, light, and if you do other actions for the mode that you're in, you will get additional information. But let's go through the functions first. So, I hope you can see the main display. Let me just go back to the beginning. So, the front display is an all matrix display, so you do see that Seiko made the cycling through the functions a little bit more aesthetic, in the sense that everything comes from beneath. So here we are in time mode, and you'll see what I mean. See how it comes from beneath? This is the chrono, rhythm, which is part of the metronome function, and here we have the metronome function per se, beat per minute function that does an audio signal, and the beat per minute rhythm that does visual signal. The visual signal would be portrayed here, and I will show you immediately. And we also have an alarm, and we are back to square one at the beginning of the functions. Now, in chrono mode, if you start the chrono and then you split, you will see that on the upper display it will say split, and you can actually see my camera. So let's go ahead and start the chrono. You will see that it will say stop when it stops, run, now it's running, and now it says split when we do a lap. Now, going back to the main functions of the watch, which is the metronome and frequency. What a metronome is, it's a device that emits certain sounds or lights at defined intervals, which musicians use to play to a specific rhythm. But this watch introduces something additional, and that is this rhythm function, which actually generates a drum rhythm sound. And I will play it for you right now. And you can see it's actually a drum noise. And with these two buttons on the top, you can increase the cycle at which the sound. So if I increase it, it's more frequent, and if I decrease it, you can tell that it will go slower. And you can actually change the drum combination that it does. You have 6 options of drum mix. This is a different one. They're all pretty similar. Now the metronome function is similar to the pace keeper function that you have in trainer watches. And let's go to BPM 1, which is the audio metronome. And this is all it does. And you can increase the frequency of that sound, similar into the way we've increased it for the other function. And even here you have variations of the sound that it makes. And it also has a light metronome or rhythm keeper. Here we see it says light, and if we kick this off, hold on, there we can see it flashing at certain intervals. You can increase those intervals. Now, I'm not a musician to actually tell if this is indeed usable in that context, but I will take the Seiko word for it and agree it is usable. And I do have to mention that it does have a micro light, and a very faint one at that. Let me see if I can. Yep, there it is. Pretty interesting piece of technology. Now for collectability, we'll give it a 6 out of 10, because I feel that the motto for this watch is everybody wants one, but not really. Because if you're a collector that wears their watches, you will be limited into the occasions where you can wear this. Now, because it was made in many variations, I could see somebody trying to line up all those versions and put them on display. Price-wise, this watch is very expensive if you look at eBay, and those prices have nothing to do with the realistic value of the watch, but we have to take them in account. Also, if you want to import one, you are looking somewhere at $130 to $150 depending on where you live. So we'll give it a 5 out of 10 because we are making an average between the price on eBay and the more affordable one from Japan. Regardless how you look at it, these are not cheap. We'll give it a 9 out of 10 for availability, as these were made towards the end of the 90s and probably beginning of the 2000s. There is no shortage of them, and whenever you want one, be sure it will be up on any auction site. What an amazing quirky watch. Thanks for watching this review with me. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, as I try to release digital watch related videos as often as I can. And for the next video, the end of the year is coming up, which means state of the collection, and my collection has more than doubled in size, and we do have some interesting pieces there. So I will see you on that video. Bye.